My beloved child, you no longer fit the life you keep trying to save. And it terrifies you. The same rooms, the same faces around the table, the same laughter that once filled you now echoes like a song you no longer recognize. Trophies you fought for gather dust on shelves that feel like they belong to someone else. Have you ever realized that the emptiness pressing against your chest is not a wound I need to heal, but a doorway I am opening? This is not abandonment, but adoption into something wider. Not loss, but loosening of everything that cannot follow you where I am taking you. And today I'm going to tell you the truth about what is actually happening inside of you. The truth no one has spoken over you in this season. I declared through the prophet Isaiah long ago. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. Do you see what I did not say? I did not say, look at what has already changed around you. I said, do you not perceive it? The question was never whether I was working. The question was whether you could recognize my hand while the work was still unfolding, quietly and visibly within you. My child, consider a river that has followed the same path for 1,000 years. To anyone watching from the bank, nothing appears to change. The water moves, the current holds. Season after season, the same familiar course. But deep beneath the surface, the water is carving new channels, slowly, silently, irresistibly. Grain by grain, the riverbed shifts. One day the old bank can no longer contain what the river has become, and the water breaks through into a wider valley no one saw coming. That is exactly what I am doing in your heart right now. The dissatisfaction stirring within you is not evidence that your faith is failing. It is the pressure of new depths carving through old contours, and that pressure is holy. Many of my children mistake this sacred unrest for punishment. They pray for me to stop it, not realizing it is my answer to a prayer they forgot they whispered. Father, draw me closer. Here is what you must understand. There is a difference between the dissatisfaction that comes from pride and the dissatisfaction that comes from spiritual growth. Pride constantly hisses, I deserve more. Spiritual maturity quietly breathes. There must be more of you for me to know. Two very different voices. One is driven by selfish ambition, clawing for control. The other is drawn by holy longing, reaching for my presence. Pride leaves you restless and bitter. Holy longing leaves you restless and hungry. Hungry for what only I can give. Perhaps that holy hunger is what you are feeling today. This has always been my pattern, written across generations of those who walked with me. Before Abraham ever saw the promised land, I stirred his heart to leave the familiar behind while the promise was still invisible. Before Moses ever stood before Pharaoh, I shaped him in the wilderness with nothing but silence and sheep. Before David ever wore a crown, I formed his heart in lonely fields under cold stars with no audience but me. The pattern has never changed. I transform the person before I transform the circumstances. The world shouts at you to chase a different life. But through my servant Paul, I whisper a deeper truth. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. 2 Corinthians 5:17. Notice what Paul did not write. He did not say every external situation immediately becomes new. He said the person becomes new. Sometimes the greatest miracle is not the rearranging of your surroundings. It is the remaking of your soul while the surroundings stay exactly the same. Think of a seed resting beneath the soil. For days, sometimes weeks, nothing appears to be happening on the surface. The ground looks unchanged. Anyone walking past would conclude nothing has begun. Yet beneath that dark earth, life is already unfolding. Roots stretch downward before any green leaf reaches upward. The seed does not fight the darkness. It depends on it. The weight of the soil that seems to bury it is the very thing that anchors its future strength. Perhaps your heart has been like that ground. The darkness you are walking through is not a grave, beloved. It is a womb. Now here is the question I want you to sit with, not once, but every morning this week. Instead of asking, Father, why can't I just be content anymore? Try asking this. Father, what have you already been changing within me without my realizing it? You may be surprised by the answer. Perhaps the conversations that once excited you now leave you strangely empty, because I am teaching you to hunger for deeper things. Perhaps the ambitions that once consumed your every thought seem distant and hollow, because I am loosening your grip on what cannot satisfy. Perhaps the places that once felt like home now make you feel like a stranger at your own table, because I am preparing you for somewhere wider than your current walls can hold. Those are not signs that something is wrong with you. They are evidence of grace reshaping you from the inside out. My child, think of a potter working at the wheel. The clay does not understand the pressure of the potter's hands. To the clay, the pressing feels like destruction. The reshaping feels like an ending. But the potter knows what the clay cannot yet perceive. The vessel that was adequate for one season cannot contain the purpose of the next. I spoke through my son. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, but store up treasures in heaven. Matthew 6:19-20. Hear me clearly. I am not stripping every earthly joy from your life. I am teaching you what no earthly joy could ever teach you, that nothing temporary can replace my presence. As your love for me deepens, your hands naturally unclench from things they once gripped desperately. Not because those things are evil, but because they no longer fit the person I am making you. Like a wineskin stretched to its limit, the old container cannot hold the new wine I am pouring. The stretching you feel is not punishment, it is expansion. The old shape was never meant to be permanent. My beloved child, here is what I want you to carry with you. So many of my children pray for me to make their lives different, yet often I lovingly begin by making them different. That transformation can move so slowly, so quietly, you hardly notice it. Until one morning you wake up and realize you no longer fit inside the life you once fought so hard to protect. That realization can feel like standing in a house you have lived in for decades and suddenly noticing the walls are too close, the ceiling too low, the rooms too narrow for who you have become. But those constricting walls are not a sign that you are losing yourself. They are evidence that I am faithfully shaping you into the person I have always intended you to become. And that person needs more space to breathe. I never waste holy discomfort. I use it to gently loosen your hands from what cannot satisfy, so that you may finally receive what truly can. And now, my child, receive my blessing over you in this season. May your eyes learn to recognize my hand even in the unsettling. May your heart trust my timing when the path ahead is hidden from view. May the restlessness within you become not a source of fear, but a compass pointing toward the wider place I have already prepared. And may you close your eyes tonight, not in the fragile certainty of what you can see, but in the unshakable faithfulness of the one who sees you completely. I am not finished with you yet, and what I am doing within you right now, even in the silence, even in the confusion, even in the ache you cannot name, is more beautiful than anything you could construct with your own hands. You are not falling apart, beloved. You are being rebuilt. If this word has met you where you are, write in the comments, Father, help me trust your work within me. Your honest words may become the lifeline someone else needs as they walk through the same hidden season. But there is something many of my children do not recognize about these seasons of holy discomfort. Why would I, your loving Father, allow you to become so unsettled before leading you into greater fruitfulness? That is exactly what I will show you in the next part. My beloved child, there is something I need you to understand, something that unsettles many who draw close to me. You expected peace. You expected clarity. You thought every prayer would make the road feel smoother beneath your feet. Yet now that you have pressed in closer, life feels more uncomfortable. Old desires are fading, and you cannot explain why. Certain relationships have shifted without warning. Doors you prayed would stay open are closing one by one. And somewhere in the quiet of the night, a question rises in your heart that you are almost afraid to speak aloud. Lord, why does following you sometimes feel like losing everything? The silence after that question is heavy, isn't it? Here is what I want to tell you today, and it may reshape everything you believe about this season. The cutting you are experiencing right now is not punishment, but preparation. Not rejection, but expansion. Not the end of your fruitfulness, but the beginning of a harvest you cannot yet see. And if you have carried that heavy question in secret, know this: you are not the first of my children to walk through a season that felt like loss before it revealed itself as love. Now listen closely. My son spoke these words, and they hold the key to what is happening inside of you. Every branch in me that bears fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. In John 15:2. Read those words slowly, my child. I did not say the dead branch is pruned. I did not say the rotting branch is pruned. I said the branch that is already bearing fruit is the one I lovingly cut back. That changes everything, doesn't it? You assume the discomfort meant something was wrong with you. But what if it means something is so right with you that I am preparing you for more than you have ever carried before? My child, imagine a vine growing heavy with grapes. Anyone walking past would say, "Look at the fruit. The vine is flourishing." But the wise gardener sees what the admirer misses. Some branches have grown too long, tangled with others, drawing energy that should be concentrated into the sweetest clusters. So the gardener reaches for the shears, not with anger, but with purpose. The branch feels the cut and interprets it as destruction. But the gardener knows what the branch cannot yet perceive. The shears are not an enemy. They are the instrument of abundance. Every cut redirects life into what remains. Every trimming makes room for richer fruit. That image is you, beloved. The shears in your life, the closed doors, the shifting friendships, the dreams that seem to be dying, are not proof that I have abandoned you. They are evidence that I am investing in you. I do not prune what I am ready to discard. I prune only what I am preparing to multiply. Consider Abraham. I gave him Isaac, the son of promise, the child he had waited decades to hold. And then I asked Abraham to lay Isaac on the altar. Why would I do such a thing? Not because Isaac was evil, not because I had changed my mind about the promise. No, I was ensuring that Abraham's deepest treasure would always remain the giver, not merely the gift. Sometimes I ask you to release what is good so that I can give you what is eternal. And you cannot receive with clenched hands what I am trying to place in open palms. My child, think of the forge. Raw silver is placed into fire, not because the silversmith hates the metal, but because heat is the only thing that draws impurities to the surface. The silversmith watches carefully. He never leaves the fire unattended. He knows the exact temperature the silver can withstand, and he waits for one specific moment, the moment he can see his own reflection in the molten surface. Only then does he remove it from the flames. That is exactly what I am doing in your heart right now. The fire you are walking through is not random. I am sitting beside it, watching closely, and I will not let it burn 1 degree hotter than necessary. My purpose is not to destroy you. My purpose is to see my own reflection in you. And that requires removing what clouds the image. My servant James wrote, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance." James 1:2-3. Do you hear what I did not say through him? I did not call the trial joyful. I called attention to what the trial produces. The testing is not the destination. Transformation is. How often you pray, "Father, change my circumstances," while I am lovingly answering, "My child, I am first changing your heart." One prayer seeks relief. The other produces maturity. And maturity is one of heaven's greatest gifts to those who will trust me through the fire. My child, think of a shepherd leading his flock through a narrow mountain pass. The sheep do not understand why the path has become so tight. From their perspective, the shepherd is taking them somewhere dangerous, away from the wide green pastures they remember. What they cannot see is that the wide fields behind them have already been grazed bare. The narrow path as uncomfortable as it feels, is the only route to higher ground where richer grass awaits. David, who knew shepherding better than most, wrote these words under my spirit: He restores my soul. Psalm 23:3. He did not merely ask for changed circumstances. He celebrated a shepherd who restores hearts. And that restoration sometimes begins by leading you away from what has already been consumed. The path feels narrow right now because it is narrow. But narrow does not mean wrong. Narrow often means singular, undistracted, the only way forward. My child, consider a tapestry viewed from the back. From the underside, all you see are tangled threads, knots, loose ends, colors that make no sense together. It looks chaotic. It looks like the weaver has lost control. But turn the tapestry over, and suddenly every thread has purpose. Every color belongs. Every knot holds something together that would otherwise unravel. That is your life from my perspective. Right now you are looking at the underside, the closed doors, the delayed answers, the pruning that stings. But I see the finished work. And through my servant Paul, I want you to hear this truth. And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. I did not promise that all things would be good, my child. I promised that I would work through all things, the confusing seasons, the waiting seasons, the pruning seasons, for the good of those whose hearts belong to me. Nothing entrusted to my hands is ever wasted. Not one tear, not one unanswered question, not one season that felt like loss. The greatest misunderstanding about spiritual growth is the belief that fruit comes from holding on tighter. But my son taught a different truth. Fruit grows because you remain connected to the vine. The branch does not strain to manufacture grapes. It simply abides. In the same way, your calling is not to anxiously force tomorrow into existence. Your calling is to remain faithful today, to trust, to pray, to obey, to rest in me. The fruit will come in its season. I have never missed a harvest yet. My beloved child, here is what I want you to carry with you from this day forward. The enemy loves to whisper during seasons of pruning, God is taking everything from you. But I am telling you the truth that silences every lie. I am not taking from you. I am making room within you. Room for deeper roots. Room for richer fruit. Room for a harvest your current branches could never sustain. Do not measure my love by how comfortable your season feels. Measure it by the unchanging faithfulness revealed through every word I have spoken over you. The shears in my hand are not weapons against you. They are tools of honor, reserved only for branches I intend to multiply. So let me speak this blessing over you now. May you learn to recognize my hand even when it holds the shears. May you trust the gardener's wisdom when the cutting feels too deep to understand. May the closed doors and the shifting seasons no longer whisper fear into your heart, but instead become quiet evidence that I am clearing space for something greater than you have yet imagined. And may you rest tonight, not in the fragile certainty of what your eyes can see, but in the unshakable faithfulness of the one who has never abandoned a branch he chose to prune. The reduction comes before the abundance. The cutting comes before the flourishing. The waiting comes before the fruit. And I am not finished with you yet. What feels like loss right now is, in my hands, the preparation for a harvest so full that you will look back on this season and say, now I understand. The shears were love all along. If this word has met you in your hidden season, write in the comments, Lord, help me trust your pruning. Your honest confession may become the lifeline someone else desperately needs as they walk through their own valley of preparation. But there is another truth that surprises many who follow me closely. If I lovingly prune every branch that bears fruit, why do some relationships begin to shift and fade as you draw nearer to my heart? The answer may not be what you expect, and it is exactly what I will show you in the next part. My beloved child, have you ever realized why everything feels like it is falling apart? The old certainties crumbling like sandstone cliffs under a wave you never saw coming? The familiar reactions that once came so naturally, now feeling foreign in your own mouth. The dreams you clung to for years suddenly slipping through your fingers like water you cannot hold, is not evidence that I have abandoned you, but the most unexpected proof that the person you used to be cannot carry the person I am shaping you to become. Not because you have become weak, as though the shaking in your soul were a sign that you had somehow failed me. Not because you have lost your passion, as though the fading of old ambitions meant your heart had grown cold, but because a wineskin stretched to its absolute limit cannot contain new wine without bursting, and the vessel I am preparing for what comes next requires an entirely new shape. The silence you mistook for my absence. The discomfort you labeled as punishment. The way your old arguments now leave you strangely quiet. Your old escapes no longer providing the relief they once promised. And today I'm going to tell you the truth about why the dismantling you have been grieving is actually the most precise construction project I have ever undertaken in your life. That is why 2 Corinthians 5:17 declares, "Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come." My child, imagine an ancient tree that has grown for decades in a single direction. Its branches have stretched toward a particular light. Its roots have wrapped themselves around familiar stones. Its entire structure has adapted to a specific wind, a specific season, a specific pattern of rain and sun. But then the landscape begins to shift, not in a way visible to anyone walking past, but in the deep tectonic movements that happen beneath the surface where no human eye can follow. The soil composition changes, the water table drops, the light itself begins angling from a direction the tree has never faced before. And the tree must do something it has never done. It must grow in a completely new direction. To the outside observer, the tree appears exactly the same. Same bark, same height, same silhouette against the sky. But underground, where no one can see, everything is restructuring. Old roots are being painstakingly redirected. New pathways are being carved through stone and clay. And the tree does not understand what is happening. It only knows that something within it is straining towards something it cannot yet perceive. That is exactly what has been happening to you. You are not dying, you are being redirected. And redirection always feels like loss before it reveals itself as growth. A river changing its course does not dry up. It simply finds a new path to the sea, and the old riverbed becomes a quiet memory while the new channel carves something the old one was never wide enough to hold. My beloved child, here is a truth that may unsettle you before it sets you free. The old you was not as great as you remember. You remember the certainty, the version of yourself that had every answer, every plan, every 5-year projection mapped out in careful detail as though tomorrow were guaranteed. You remember the confidence, the way you walked into rooms knowing exactly who you were and what you brought. But you have conveniently forgotten the fear that drove that certainty. The anxiety wound so tightly around your ambition that you could not tell where one ended and the other began. You have forgotten the pride that disguised itself as conviction, the compromises you name wisdom, the endless performance required to maintain a version of yourself that was never designed to last. The old you was not evil, but the old you was never meant to carry what I am now placing in your hands. A wooden bridge constructed for foot traffic cannot suddenly bear the weight of a freight train. Not because the bridge was poorly built, but because its very design has limits the new purpose exceeds. Paul discovered this on the road to Damascus. He was a man who had everything: status, reputation, theological certainty so dense you could build a fortress from it. And then I met him, and I dismantled every single thing he thought he knew, not because his knowledge was worthless, but because the vessel he had constructed could not contain the revelation I was about to entrust to him. That is why Romans 12:2 commands, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." My child, notice carefully where I begin. I do not start with your behavior, demanding that you perform better, try harder, or discipline yourself into holiness through sheer force of will. I start with your mind, the deep architecture of how you think, the invisible scaffolding beneath every decision you make, the hidden assumptions that have been shaping your life without you even realizing they were there. The word renewal in the original language is not a single event. It describes a continuous process, like a blacksmith heating raw metal in the forge, folding it, heating it again, each cycle removing impurities the previous pass could not reach. Each day I am patiently teaching you to see life through my truth instead of through fear, instead of through comparison, instead of through the distorted lens of every disappointment that convinced you I could not be trusted. And this is precisely why your reactions have been changing. The arguments that once consumed you now leave you silent, not because you have become passive, but because your mind is being renewed to discern what actually matters in light of eternity. The dreams that once defined your future now feel incomplete, not because you have lost ambition, but because I am reshaping your entire understanding of what success even means. This is not weakness. This is the evidence of spiritual transformation. And it has been far more costly than you realize. A surgeon does not apologize for the pain of the incision that saves the patient's life. He knows what the cutting is accomplishing, and the healing that follows would be impossible without it. My beloved child, Paul wrote something in Philippians 3:8 that reveals the secret most people never uncover. Indeed, I count everything as loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord. Paul was not motivated merely by duty or discipline or the grim determination to be faithful at any cost. He had discovered a treasure so infinitely valuable that everything he left behind, status, reputation, certainty, control, seemed like discarded rubble by comparison. And that is the truth that changes everything. The Christian life is not primarily about losing old things. It is about discovering someone infinitely better. When Christ becomes the greatest treasure of your heart, everything else naturally finds its proper place. Not because those things were always sinful, but because Christ himself has become increasingly precious, and nothing else can compete with what it means to truly know him. A child who discovers a diamond does not mourn the pebbles that fall from her pockets. The pebbles were not worthless, but they were never meant to be held alongside something of such immeasurable worth. I am not asking you to simply grit your teeth and let go of what you're clutching. I am asking you to look up and finally see what I have been holding out to you all along. My child, listen to the promise I gave through Paul in Philippians 1:6. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. I did not say the work might finish if you cooperate perfectly. I did not say the outcome depends equally on your effort and mine, suspended in uncertainty until the final tally is counted. I said I will carry it to completion, and my faithfulness, not your perfection, is the only guarantee you will ever need. The roots of a mighty oak do not form in a single season. They spread inch by inch, year by year, through soil that offers no applause and darkness that grants no visibility. Yet the oak that seems to grow so slowly above the surface is, beneath it, anchoring itself into the earth with a grip that will hold against hurricanes. Every prayer you have whispered in weakness, I have heard it. Every quiet act of obedience no one else witnessed, I have recorded it. Every decision to forgive when you had every right to hold a grudge, I have honored it. Every moment you rested in my word when anxiety screamed for your attention, I have strengthened you through it. None of it is wasted. Not a single tear, not a single trembling step, not a single season that felt unproductive while you were living through it. Here is the quiet revelation I want to leave burning in your heart tonight. The perspective shift that transforms everything you thought you knew about this season. The discomfort you have been running from is not a sign that something has gone terribly wrong. It is the evidence that something is finally going gloriously right. You thought the shaking meant I had left, but the shaking is my hand, not my absence. You thought the silence meant I had stopped working. But the silence is the sound of a master builder measuring twice before cutting once. You have been praying for me to restore the old you, the comfortable you, the certain you, the you who fit neatly into every expectation and never questioned the shape of the box. But I have not been restoring, I have been creating. And creation is always messier than restoration, always louder, always more disorienting before it reveals the masterpiece hidden within the stone. A sculptor does not apologize for the dust that fills the studio. He knows exactly what the dust is becoming, and I have never once been confused about what I am building in you. Even on the days when you cannot see anything but rubble, and the floor around you looks like nothing but fragments of who you used to be. So I bless you now, my beloved child. I bless you with the courage to stop grieving the version of yourself that no longer fits, and to trust that the redirection you are experiencing is not loss, but the most precise realignment you have ever known. I bless you with eyes to see the underground work, the roots being redirected, the new pathways being carved through soil you thought was barren, and to recognize that what is happening in secret will one day produce fruit visible to everyone who once doubted that anything was growing at all. I bless you with the freedom to release the old certainties without fear, not because certainty is worthless, but because my presence is worth infinitely more than any answer you use to clutch with white-knuckled hands. When the shaking continues, and it may, for I am not finished, do not mistake the tremor for destruction. The potter does not apologize for the pressure of his hands upon the clay. He knows exactly what he is shaping, and the beauty of the finished vessel will silence every voice that ever questioned whether the process was worth the pain. My beloved child, have you ever realized why the people who once understood you better than anyone, the ones who knew your laugh before it fully formed, who could finish your sentences before you found the words, who shared the same table and the same stories and the same unspoken language of years spent walking side by side, now seem to look at you as though you have become a stranger in your own skin, is not evidence that you are losing yourself, but the most unexpected proof that your security was never meant to rest in human hands that were never designed to hold what only I can carry. Not because they have stopped loving you, as though the years of shared history had evaporated overnight without warning, as though the memories themselves had been erased by the distance you now feel stretching between you. Not because you have become arrogant, as though the new hunger for prayer, the new distaste for gossip, the new stillness that settles over you in moments you once filled with noise were signs that pride had infected your spirit. But because a tree transplanted into deeper soil must first be separated from the shallow roots that once held it, and the tearing you feel is not rejection, but relocation. And today I am going to tell you the truth about why the shifting of certain relationships is not the disaster you have feared. It is the most loving rearrangement I have ever orchestrated in your life. My son himself walked this same lonely road before you. He returned to Nazareth, the town where he had learned to walk on dusty streets, where his hands had first learned to shape wood in Joseph's workshop, where every neighbor had watched him grow from a boy into a man, and those who knew him longest could not see beyond the carpenter they remembered. They took offense at the very grace that should have drawn them near. A prophet is not without honor except in his own town, among his relatives, and in his own home. Mark 6:4. The tragedy was not that my son had changed. The tragedy was that those closest to him refused to recognize what I was doing right in front of their eyes. If this happened to Christ himself, the very author of every relationship that has ever existed, why are you surprised when the same mystery unfolds in your own life? A river that once flowed through a narrow channel cannot suddenly double its volume without overflowing the banks that once contained it. And the people who knew you when you were a stream may not recognize you now that I am turning you into something far wider and far deeper than any human container could safely hold. My child, Here is a truth that may sting before it heals. You have been measuring the wrong loss. You have been counting the conversations that feel strained, the silences that stretch too long, the invitations that no longer come, and you have interpreted every single one as evidence that something precious is being taken from you. But what if the distance you feel is not loss at all, but the necessary space required when I am rebuilding your foundation? Imagine a house built on shifting sand, beautiful from the outside, warm rooms filled with laughter, windows catching the morning light. But the foundation was never secure, and one day the owner himself arrives, not to destroy the house, but to move it. The process of relocation is loud. Dust fills the air. Walls groan, and the neighbors who once stopped by for coffee now stand at a distance, confused by the construction. But the owner is not confused. He knows the house must be moved to bedrock, and the temporary chaos is not destruction, but the most loving act the house has ever received. Every friendship that feels distant right now is not proof that you are losing people. It is proof that I am becoming your only foundation, and a foundation built on anything less than me was always destined to crack beneath the weight of what I am building above it. My child, remember Joseph, the boy with the coat of many colors, the dreamer whose own brothers could not bear the light I had placed inside him. Envy sharpened into betrayal. A pit in the desert became his address, while his own blood walked away. Slavery in a foreign land where no one spoke his language. A prison cell, damp stone walls, where he spent years he would never get back for a crime he did not commit. If any soul in human history had the right to grow bitter, to measure his life by what others had done to him, to let the weight of human rejection define his every waking thought, it was Joseph. Yet when the truth finally surfaced, when the brothers who had sold him stood trembling before the man they did not recognize, Joseph spoke words that revealed a heart completely untethered from human approval. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good. Genesis 50:20. Notice what he did not say. He did not say, you destroyed me, but I survived. He measured his entire life, every betrayal, every abandonment, every year lost in a prison he never deserved, not by what others had done, but by what I had accomplished through it all. The same hands that threw him into a pit were the hands I used to position him before Pharaoh. The prison cell was not a detour from my plan. It was the very hallway through which I led him to the throne. And if I did that for Joseph, I am doing the very same thing for you. The relationships that are shifting are not obstacles to my purpose. They are the precise instruments through which I am freeing you from every foundation that was never strong enough to hold what is coming. My beloved child, let me ask you something that may change the way you pray about every relationship in your life. Instead of waking up tomorrow and whispering, why don't they understand me anymore? Try asking me this instead. Whose approval have I been seeking, theirs or yours? That single question is a scalpel. It cuts through every layer of pretense and reaches the hidden place where your identity has been quietly anchored. A boat that is tied to the dock feels secure until the storm arrives and the ropes snap because the dock was never built to withstand hurricane winds. But a boat that is anchored to the ocean floor, to bedrock far beneath the surface, does not drift, no matter how fiercely the waves rage above. And I am gently untying you from every dock that was never meant to be your anchor. Not because the docks were evil, but because they were always too fragile to hold you through what lies ahead. The strained conversations, the growing distance, the uncomfortable silences. These are not signs that you are drifting away from people who matter. They are signs that I am drawing you closer to myself, and the closer you are to me, the more clearly you can see which relationships were built on sand and which ones were hewn from the same bedrock as your faith. My child, listen to the words my son spoke in Matthew 7:17. Every good tree bears good fruit. Notice what he emphasizes and what he deliberately omits. He does not say, every tree that is understood by its neighbors bears good fruit. He does not say, every tree that maintains every relationship from its previous season bears good fruit. He says fruit, the quiet, unhurried evidence of a life drawing nourishment from a source no human eye can see. Roots grow underground in darkness, long before branches become heavy with harvest. And while the roots are spreading through soil that offers no applause, the people standing above the surface may see nothing but bare branches and assume nothing is happening at all. Be patient with them. They cannot see what I am doing beneath the soil. Paul wrote words I want you to keep close to your heart in this season. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Ephesians 4:2. Notice, he does not command you to make them understand. He does not insist that you explain yourself until they finally see what I see. He says, bear with them. Love them anyway. Spiritual maturity is not having every answer neatly arranged. It is continuing to extend grace to people who no longer recognize the person you are becoming, and trusting that I am the one who holds both their story and yours in the same hands. My beloved child, here is the quiet revelation I want to press into your heart tonight. The truth that reframes everything you thought you knew about this season. Sometimes I do not remove people from your life because they are bad. Sometimes I simply teach you to love me first, so that you can love them more faithfully than you ever could before. When Christ becomes the true center of your heart, every other relationship naturally finds its proper orbit. Not lost, but repositioned. A planet that was once the center of your solar system becomes a moon, circling at the right distance, reflecting light rather than trying to generate its own. You have not lost them. You are learning to love them from a place of fullness rather than need. And that is not loss. That is the most profound restoration I could ever offer you. Once your security settles deeply into my unfailing love, once acceptance by Christ becomes enough, rejection no longer defines you, and approval no longer controls you. From that secure place, you are finally free to love others without fear. Not clutching, not performing, not desperately seeking the validation that was never theirs to give in the first place. So I bless you now, my beloved child. I bless you with the courage to release every relationship into my hands. Not because those people do not matter, but because my hands are infinitely safer than your grip has ever been. I bless you with eyes to see the shifting, not as rejection, but as my most precise and loving relocation. The work of a master builder who knows exactly which foundations must be replaced before the upper rooms can hold the weight of glory. I bless you with the grace to bear with those who cannot yet see what I am doing in you, to love them patiently, gently, without the desperate need to be understood, knowing that the same mercy I have extended to your own slow growth is the mercy I am inviting you to extend to theirs. When the silence stretches long and the old loneliness returns, as it may, for growth often travels through valleys before it reaches the summit. Do not mistake the quiet for abandonment. The seeds I have planted in you are growing roots too deep for any human eye to trace. And when the harvest finally breaks through the surface, visible, undeniable, heavy with fruit that no one can explain apart from me, every person who once questioned what was happening beneath the soil will see that I have been working all along, and I have never once been confused about where I am leading you. My beloved child, have you ever realized why the achievements that once set your heart racing, the diplomas gathering dust in frames you no longer notice, the promotions that promised fulfillment but delivered only a brief exhale before the hunger crept back in, the weekends packed with activity that somehow left you emptier on Sunday evening than you had been on Friday morning, is not evidence that something has gone terribly wrong with your faith, but the most unexpected proof that I am gently loosening your grip on everything that was never designed to hold the weight of your soul. Not because those blessings were worthless, as though every good gift I placed in your hands were a trap I am now dismantling with regret. Not because I delight in taking things away, as though the removal itself were the goal, as though I were a distant father who watches you reach for comfort only to pull it back at the last moment. But because a cistern that has sprung a slow, invisible leak cannot be patched with more water drawn from the same broken well, and the thirst you have been trying to quench with temporary things was always meant to lead you back to the only fountain that has never once run dry. The noise you use to wrap around yourself like a blanket no longer drowns out the deeper ache. The praise that once fed your identity now echoes strangely hollow. The old escapes have stopped working, and you have mistaken the silence that follows for emptiness, when it is actually the most precise invitation I have ever given you. And today I'm going to tell you the truth about why the quiet restlessness you have been fighting is not a crisis. It is the most loving invitation your heart has ever received. That is why Ecclesiastes 3:11 declares, "He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in the human heart." My child, pause and let those words breathe. I did not place a small, manageable desire inside you, something that could be satisfied by a single achievement or a single season of success, and then set aside like a completed task. I placed eternity, a longing as vast as the ocean, as deep as the universe I spoke into being with a single word. And you have been trying to fill something that stretches to the horizon with thimbles of temporary water. A child who has only ever drunk from puddles after rain does not know what a river tastes like. She crouches beside the shallow water, cupping her hands, drinking what she can. And for a time, it seems like enough. But one day she looks up and sees the river for the very first time. Wide, rushing, endless, alive. And the puddles that once seemed sufficient now taste of nothing but dust and longing. That is exactly what has been happening to you. The activities that once filled your weekends now leave you strangely quiet. The entertainment that once numbed the ache now barely registers. You have not lost your capacity for joy. You have simply outgrown the containers that used to hold it. And what feels like emptiness is actually the ache of a soul stretching towards something it was always meant to contain, like lungs expanding to receive air. They were designed to breathe from the beginning. My beloved child, I spoke these words through my son in John 6:35. I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Notice the word he chose, bread, not cake, a fleeting celebration, sweet but insubstantial, dissolving on the tongue and leaving nothing behind but the memory of sweetness. Not a rare delicacy reserved for special occasions, to be admired from a distance and tasted once before the ordinary hunger resumes. Bread, the daily nourishment that sustains life itself, unglamorous, unremarkable, so essential that you rarely notice it until it is missing from the table. What your soul craves most deeply is not an occasional encounter with me, a Sunday morning experience, a mountaintop moment, a single breakthrough that fades by Tuesday afternoon. What your soul craves is the daily life-sustaining presence of Christ himself, as ordinary as bread on a wooden table, as essential as the breath in your lungs, as constant as the heartbeat you rarely notice until something threatens to silence it. A man who has been surviving on crumbs from a stranger's table does not abandon the feast when the master invites him to join the family at the banquet. He simply recognizes that what he was eating before was never meant to fill him, and he walks away from the crumbs not with regret, but with relief that he is finally eating what his body has been starving for all along. My child, David discovered this secret in the wilderness, not in the palace where every earthly pleasure was within arm's reach, but in the desert where every comfort had been stripped away until nothing remained but the bare horizon and the God who walked beside him through the dust. He wrote in Psalm 16:11, "In your presence there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore." David was a king who could afford anything his heart desired: gold, feasts, music, the applause of a nation. Yet when he traced his joy back to its source, he did not point to the crown or the throne, or the victories or the spoils. He pointed to a presence, and he said that in that presence was fullness, not just a measured portion doled out sparingly. Forevermore, not just for a fleeting season that blooms and withers before you have learned its name. A fountain carved from living rock, never dependent on the rain, never diminished by drought, never reduced to a trickle when the heat of summer presses down. The yearning I placed in your heart is not a flaw. It is a homing signal, a compass needle that trembles until it points toward true north. And every time you have tried to satisfy it with something smaller than me, the trembling has returned not to punish you, but to guide you home. My beloved child, you have been asking me why the restlessness will not relent. You have been searching for a solution, a new hobby, a new goal, a new relationship, a new distraction that might finally silence the ache. But the ache is not a problem to be solved. It is an invitation to be received. When a branch is grafted into a vine, the very first thing that happens is not visible growth. The first thing is a wound, a deliberate cut into the living wood, where the graft must be pressed and bound and held in place until the sap begins to flow between them. The branch does not understand the cutting. It only feels the wound, and every instinct screams that something is being taken, something is being lost, something is being broken that can never be repaired. But the gardener knows exactly where to cut, and the wound is not destruction, but the only possible doorway through which new life can enter. And I have been grafting you more deeply into Christ, not because I enjoy the wound, not because I am indifferent to your pain, but because the sap of his life is the only thing that can produce fruit through you that will remain long after this world has passed away. My child, here is the quiet revelation I want to breathe into the stillest part of your heart tonight. The truth that reframes everything you have been fighting against. You have been asking me to restore your enjoyment of the things that once satisfied you, to make the old pleasures taste the way they used to taste before I began this deep, unsettling work. But I have not been restoring, I have been relocating. A family that has spent generations living beside a shallow, muddy stream does not understand why the Father would uproot them and lead them across miles of difficult, unfamiliar terrain. They mourn the stream they left behind. They remember its water as sweeter than it ever truly was. Every step away from the familiar feels like a step away from life itself. But the Father has been leading them toward a river they cannot yet see. Wider, deeper, fed by springs that have never once run dry since the foundation of the world. And one day, when they crest the final ridge and see the water glinting in the sunlight for the very first time, no one will speak of the stream again. What felt like loss was the most merciful relocation they had ever experienced. And the thirst that plagued them during the journey was the very thing that kept them walking until they reached the water I had been preparing for them all along. So I bless you now, my beloved child. I bless you with the courage to stop fighting the restlessness and to recognize it for what it truly is. The ache of a soul being stretched toward its eternal home, the growing pains of a heart being enlarged to contain more of Christ than it has ever held before. I bless you with eyes to see that the pleasures losing their grip were never being stolen from your hands. They were being gently, lovingly lifted so that your hands might finally be free to receive something infinitely greater than anything you have been clutching. I bless you with the grace to sit in the quiet you have been avoiding, not because the silence is comfortable, but because I am speaking beneath the noise you have been using to drown me out. And the voice you have been drowning out is the only voice that has ever spoken peace into the deepest places of your soul. When the old hunger returns, as it may, for on this side of eternity, no soul is ever fully satisfied. Do not reach again for the crumbs that never filled you before. Reach for the bread that has been waiting on the table all along, and know this with a certainty that nothing in heaven or on earth can ever shake. The fountain you have been searching for your entire life has never once run dry, and I have been standing beside it, holding out my hand, waiting for you to stop drinking from broken cisterns and finally taste the only water that can satisfy the thirst I myself placed within you. My beloved child, do you know what I am really doing when I go quiet? Have you ever realized that the silence is not abandonment, but cultivation? Not a locked door, but a garden being prepared in the dark. My word says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. I am not giving you a floodlight, I am giving you a lamp, a small warm circle of light that reaches only far enough for the next step, barely enough to see where your foot will land. I have seen you lying awake at night, staring at the ceiling, waiting like someone beside a phone that never rings. I have watched you replay the same prayer over and over, wondering if the line has gone dead, if I have forgotten your address, if your name has somehow slipped from my memory. And today I'm going to tell you the truth about what I am doing in the hidden places while you wait. Because what is happening in the silence is far more important than anything you have heard in the noise. I give you one step at a time because I want you to take my hand for the step after that. I am not withholding the full map to frustrate you. I am teaching you to walk by the sound of my voice instead of the sight of the road. The floodlight would make you independent. The lamp keeps you close. My child, think of the roots of a great oak tree. No one applauds roots. No one photographs them or posts them or celebrates them. They grow in complete darkness, pressing inch by inch through cold, stubborn soil, unseen, unglamorous, uncelebrated. And yet everything that will ever stand tall in the wind, everything that will ever offer shade to a weary traveler, every branch, every leaf, every acorn, all of it depends entirely on what was built in the dark, far from human eyes. My word declares, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. When your feelings shift like sand beneath your feet and your circumstances twist around you like a storm, I remain exactly who I have always been. The silence is not my absence. The silence is my hand pressing you deeper into soil that can actually hold you when the winds come. You are not being buried. You are being planted. And the season you are in right now is the one that determines how tall you will one day stand when the storms arrive. Now let me tell you something about the way I provide. My child, do you remember the manna in the wilderness? Every morning enough for one day, never enough to store, never enough to feel secure without me showing up again at sunrise. The people wanted to gather extra, to build a pantry, to ensure themselves against my silence. But the excess rotted in their hands. It turned to decay in their jars because it was never meant to be hoarded. It was meant to be received fresh, with open hands every single morning. My word says, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. I designed the wilderness to teach daily dependence because I knew that full storehouses would teach you to trust the bread instead of the baker. I knew that abundance without intimacy would make you forget the sound of my voice, the warmth of my breath on the morning dew. When I withhold the full picture, I am not being cruel. I am being intimate. I am inviting you to wake up every morning and find me faithful all over again, like fresh bread glistening on the grass. The daily search is not punishment, it is communion. It is the rhythm of a relationship, not the transaction of a vending machine. My child, consider the sculptor and the marble, the chisel strikes and the stone protests. From the stone's perspective, every blow is loss, pieces falling away, shape being broken, a familiar form being dismantled, and nothing makes sense. The stone cannot see what the sculptor sees. It cannot imagine the figure hidden inside the block, waiting to be revealed, layer by painful layer. My word declares, though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. Every quiet season is my chisel in your life. Every unanswered question is a precise, loving strike, removing what does not belong to the image I am forming in you. You feel the loss? and I do not dismiss your pain. I count every fragment that falls. But I also see the face that is emerging, line by line, blow by blow, and it is more beautiful than you can possibly imagine. Trust the hands that hold the tools, even when you cannot see the design. I have never once struck the wrong place, and I never will. Now hear this, because it is the deepest truth I want to give you today. My child, there is a kind of knowing that only comes through walking together in complete darkness. A child who has only ever held her father's hand in bright, safe streets does not truly know his grip. Not the way a child knows it who has crossed a narrow bridge in a howling storm, where one slip would mean disaster, where the wind screams and the only anchor is the hand holding hers. My word says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Do you hear where the confidence comes from? Not from the absence of shadows, not from a detailed itinerary of every danger ahead. The confidence comes from 4 words. You are with me. That is the treasure buried at the bottom of every quiet season. Not information, not a blueprint, but presence. I could give you a map of every valley you will ever cross, every storm you will ever face, but then you would learn to trust the map. Instead, I walk with you through the valley itself, holding your hand in the dark so you learn to trust me. The map can be torn from your hands, lost in the wind, burned in the fire, but my hand cannot be pried open. And once you have learned that, really learned it, in the dark, with no backup plan, you are unshakable. So now, here is my blessing over you, my child, the one who has waited faithfully in the silence when every feeling screamed that I was gone. May you learn to recognize my presence not by the volume of my voice, but by the warmth of my nearness in the quiet. May the roots I am growing in your hidden places anchor you for every storm that will come. May you wake each morning to find fresh mercy glistening on the ground, sufficient for exactly the day ahead. And may the steps you take inside that small circle of lamplight become a path that others will follow long after you have gone home to me. I have never left you, not for a single moment. I have never stopped working, and I will complete what I have begun because I do not abandon my own. Now, if you have heard my voice in these words, I want you to do something. Go to the comments below and write a prayer. Not a performance for others to see, but a real, raw conversation with me. Tell me what you are surrendering in this quiet season. Tell me you trust me even when you cannot see the next step. I am listening more intently than you can possibly know. I am right here, closer than your next breath, and I am not going anywhere. My beloved child, do you know why you feel like 2 people living in one body? One who loves me with a fierce, burning devotion, and another who reaches for the very things you have already renounced? Have you ever realized that this war inside you is not the signature of a failed faith, but the signature of a real one? My word says, for the flesh desires what is contrary to the spirit, and the spirit what is contrary to the flesh. They are in conflict with each other so that you are not to do whatever you want. You woke up this morning already exhausted, not from what your hands had done, but from a battle that had been raging in the dark hours of the night. Old fears clawing at the door you thought you had locked. Habits you buried years ago knocking like unwelcome guests at midnight. Words you wish you could unsay replaying on a loop behind your eyes like a scratch record. And today I'm going to tell you the truth about what that war actually means. Because the very thing you are ashamed of is the evidence that I am still working in you. My child, think of a garden where wheat and weeds grow side by side in the same soil. The master does not tear up the entire field in a rage when he sees the weeds rising among the stalks. He does not burn the wheat because the weeds have invaded. He waits, patiently, deliberately, tending the good crop while the weeds remain tangled in the roots, letting both grow until the harvest when the separation will be final and complete. If there were no wheat in that field, there would be no battle at all. The weeds would have won long ago, and the soil would be silent, surrendered, dead. The very fact that you feel the tension, that you grieve the weeds and ache for the wheat, that you mourn your failures instead of celebrating them, is proof that my life is already growing in your soil. Your tears over your failures are not signs of defeat. They are the water I use to grow what I have planted in the dark. This is not permission to stop fighting. This is permission to stop being shocked that the fight exists, and to stop believing that the presence of the battle means you are losing the war. My word declares, therefore there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Let this sink deep into your bones. No condemnation, not less condemnation, not suspended condemnation that returns the moment you stumble. No condemnation, period, full stop, eternally settled before you took your first breath. I am not watching you with a ledger, pen poised in the air, waiting to mark down every misstep, every thought that slipped through the gate, every old pattern that resurfaced when you were tired and unguarded. The ledger was nailed shut on a cross 2,000 years ago, and I have never reopened it. Not once, not for a single soul. What you call a relapse, I call a reminder. A reminder that you need me, that you were never meant to walk this path alone, that sanctification is a marathon measured in decades, not a sprint measured in days, and I am running every single mile with you. Now let me speak to what happens in the daily fight. My child, consider the blacksmith and the raw iron. The metal does not know it is being purified. It only feels the fire, unbearable heat, flames licking every edge, colors shifting from black to red to white hot. Then the hammer falls, again and again. Sparks fly like terrified prayers into the dark workshop. The iron, if it could speak, would scream, "Stop! You are destroying me!" But the blacksmith sees what the iron cannot. The impurities rising to the surface like scum on boiling water. The slag separating from the steel. The shape emerging from the chaos, blow by measured blow. Every strike is intentional. Every degree of heat is calculated to the exact temperature required. My word says, "For it is God who works in you to will and to act in order to fulfill his good purpose." I am the blacksmith, and your internal war is not a malfunction. It is the fire I have turned up to bring impurities to the surface so they can be skimmed away. The battle you feel raging inside your chest is the heat I have kindled, and I never burn what I intend to throw away. I only refine what I intend to keep forever. My child, do you remember Peter? He stood by a charcoal fire in the courtyard and declared with absolute unshakable confidence that he would never deny me. And then, before the rooster crowed twice, he had done it 3 times to a servant girl. His failure was not private. It was not quiet. It was spectacular, public, humiliating beyond words. He ran into the night and wept until his ribs ached. And yet I did not revoke his calling. I did not demote him from apostle to bystander. I did not replace him on the roster. I met him on a beach at dawn, cooked him breakfast over another charcoal fire, the same kind of fire beside which he had fallen, and asked him 3 times, once for each denial, "Do you love me?" I was not counting his failures against him. I was healing them, one question at a time, rewriting his shame into a new commission. Feed my sheep. If I did not discard Peter after all of that, I will not discard you. The charcoal fire of your worst failure will one day become the place where I meet you with fresh bread, warm coals, and a new mission. Now hear this truth, because it is the one you most need today. My child, imagine a father teaching his toddler to walk. Does the father stand at the finish line with a stopwatch, recording every wobble, every stumble, every time the child's knees hit the floor? Does he grade the child on perfect form? Does he shake his head in disappointment when the child topples for the 100th time? Or does he crouch with open arms 2 steps away, eyes blazing with joy, ready to catch and lift and celebrate? Not despite the falls, but in the very midst of them? My word cries out, "Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me." This is not a prayer for perfection. It is a prayer of raw dependence. David, a man after my own heart, fell harder than you ever have, and yet he ran toward me, not away. He asked not for a clean record, but for a clean heart, because he understood what I am trying to teach you. I am not measuring steps. I am shaping the walker. Every time you stumble and reach for me, you are not starting over from zero. You are taking another step. The falls are not failures. They are part of the gate, the unsteady, holy, beautiful rhythm of learning to walk with me. So now here is my blessing over you, the one who has fought silently, who has wept over patterns you thought you had conquered years ago, who has wondered if the struggle itself disqualifies you from being truly mine. May you finally see your internal war not as evidence of defeat, but as the signature of my spirit alive and active within you. May the fire you fear become the forge I use to shape you into something unbreakable. May every stumble drive you deeper into my arms, rather than further into hiding. And may the day come, and it will come, when you look back and realize that the greatest battles were never signs of weakness, but the very places where I was making you strong. I have not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And that includes power over the voices that whisper you are too broken to be mine. Now I want you to do something. Go to the comments below and write what you are fighting right now. Not a polished testimony, but the raw, unvarnished truth. Tell me what old habit, what fear, what thought pattern keeps rising up like a weed among the wheat. And then tell me you believe I am still working even when you cannot see the progress. I am reading every word. I am catching every tear before it hits the ground, and I am not finished with you yet. I am right here, closer than the war inside your chest, and I have already won what you are still fighting.